We have international master Divya Deshmukh taking her chair. She is playing against IM Salome Melia from Georgia. Divya started off the women's Grand Prix in Pune with some fantastic games. She scored 2 out of 2, beating Nurgyul Salimova and in the second round Vaishali. Then she lost her game to Humpy, and now she's playing Salome, who is a very strong player from Georgia. The players shake hands and we are ready to go. Salome opens the game with 1e4. What is Divya's choice going to be? She decides to play c6 because she wants a fighting game of chess. Now, Salome is a very strong player. However, her rating has dropped down to 2293, while Divya, of course, is right up there at 2460. So she would definitely be wanting to create some chances, but it's never easy to do so with the black pieces against such a strong opponent. So she takes on d5. It's the exchange variation of Karo Khan, and her opponent plays bishop d3. The knight comes out to c6, as we have some blockage through the camera. Pawn to c3 and queen comes out to c7. Now the idea of queen c7 is that the bishop can no longer come to f4, and it stops it. So white can go knight e2, preparing bishop f4. But Salome goes h3, which is also a nice move because you want to put your knight on f3 and you want to avoid the bishop coming and pinning you. So it's a nice move there. Now Divya brings her knight out to c6, to f6. And knight comes out to f3. For now, one of the issues that is faced by Divya is with her light squared bishop, and she immediately tries to fix it with the move g6. She wants to play bishop f5 and trade it off. White castles. And bishop to f5. This is actually a very interesting concept where black is playing very ambitiously. She's getting rid of her slightly problematic piece. In return, she is getting a doubled pawn. That doubled pawn can both be a strength and a weakness. Knight e1 played, very very cool idea with, because if you take, she wants to maybe take with the knight looking at these squares. Divya can actually take it, but instead she goes bishop g7, which is also a completely fine move. But I guess now we see the point of Salome's maneuver, knight to e1. What she intends to do is she wants to take on f5, gf, and then the queen could move into the game as well. So bishop f5, good move. G takes f5. And the question is, there's another point. You can go knight d3 and bishop f4, knight to d3. Very good play here by white. Very interesting maneuver, this knight e1 to d3. Divya simply pushes her pawn to e6. And she considers her position to be fine, and it is fine positionally because all the black pawns are on light square. Bishop comes to f4, attacking the queen. And how do you continue now? Where do you place your queen? The queen can go to d7, to c8, to e7, to b6. Few options here. These all look pretty interesting. Divya goes to e7. And now Salome develops her knight d2. She wants to go knight f3 and put her knight on the e5 square. I think short castling makes a lot of sense. Although you want to attack on the g file, long castling would be a bit too much, I think short castles, yes, that's what Divya does. King h8, rook g8. And then attacking here makes a lot of sense. Rook goes to e1, standing opposite the queen, although there are no real threats as of now. I guess king h8 is a very sensible move. Divya plays her knight to e4. But can we simply not kick the knight away with f3? Seems like a good move actually. But Salome decides to play queen to h5, an aggressive move. And maybe she is angling to trade off this bishop on g7. I don't know if it's a good exchange or not. It seems like an idea. Look at Divya's move. She goes b5. Wow. What a move. It's a very interesting move by Divya. She's trying to maybe create play with b4. Completely unperturbed by what is happening on the king side. I was wondering if you can take and put your knight on c5. But then there is e5 breaking in the center with this loose knight on c5. So she instead goes a3. Slightly slow move, but Salome does feel that that's good to sort of keep this a3 move in hand to slow down black's b4. And now f3 is played. I guess taking makes a lot of sense here. 92. But Divya plays knight to d6, and this is what makes Divya a special player, but at the same time sometimes she's a bit too ambitious. Knight on d6, but look at this. Your pieces aren't coordinating that great. White has a knight that could jump to e5, knight b3 to c5. I mean, there are too many things that are going on. Salome plays bishop h6, which is also a very interesting decision. She's just trying to trade off these bishops and say that your king is weak. And now rook to e8 played. I guess the idea is to play f6 at some point when the e6 square gets weak. So rook to e8. I'm not sure if that's the plan. But now the white knight could go to f4. The knight could go to c5. She takes on g7 first. King takes g7. And now knight b3. So good play here by Salome. She is having a good position. And let's see how Divya continues. She plays h6 move. And I think what she intends to do is king h7, rook g8. A very good maneuver here. f4 played. Wow. f4. That's not a great idea. Because on one hand, you do clamp the e5 square, but you've given up the e4 square. This is not a great move by Salome, and it seems like a positional error. The game is very strategic in nature because of the closed nature of the position and both sides having two knights. King h7 is a fine move. And she goes in knight bc5. Well, Divya is simply arguing that yes, your knight looks good, but it isn't doing much here. Rook g8. Now ready to maybe double down the g file. With the knight jumping into e4 and the rooks coming in, this looks very good. This looks very good. Knight to e5 played. Attacking the knight here. Maybe taking here makes sense. If you think about it, take, f takes, and then jumping into e4. Yeah, so she takes it. fe5, very likely. Oh, she takes with the rook. Whoa, interesting. And now something like knight e4 would be a blunder because of queen takes f5 and you lose a pawn. So have to be slightly careful. Rook g6, great move. Threatening rook g8 and attacking here. Somehow Divya's moves are now easier to play. Goes rook f1. Wow. Okay, rook f1 is passive. Rook g8. It will require some great skills here to save the position now with the way in which Divya moves. She's very quick. She's also having a time lead. And now queen d8 played, just so that she can play her knight to e4 without having to worry about this queen takes f5 ideas. King to h2. She goes rook g7. When you are better, there is no need to rush. You can calmly improve your position. Rook e3 played. Rook g8. Well, maybe she's wanting the rook to come back to e5. g3 played by Salome. And Divya brings her knight to e4. Finally, the small trade is going to happen here. Knight takes e4. I don't think you want to take with f pawn because it allows later f5. So she takes with the d pawn. And you have this zigzag pawn structure. Maybe there is some b4 breakthrough which will create more weaknesses for the time being. She attacks b5. Queen comes to d5, defending it. It's not so simple to make a breakthrough here as black. But the nice thing is that you have one weakness here which you have kept your eyes on. It's time to create a second weakness. And Divya goes rook b8. And she's all about getting into action. b4 is on her mind. Queen d2. And maybe it's already time to play b4. She goes h5. Oh my god, she's playing on both wings. She's really creating this super confusion for her opponent. Queen e2. Salome is like, hey, now I'm attacking h5. What's your plan, Divya? She goes rook h8. Wow. Queen h5. She wants to go king g7. And if you come back, then boom, boom, check, and it's game over. It's a mate. Wow. So king g1 played. King comes to g7. And I think now she wants to play h4 if the position permits. Queen d2. Queen comes to d6. And this is against the move. Now h4, you can't go g4 because f4 would hang. She plays queen e2. And what's your idea to h4 now? I guess h4 would be a nice move. Queen b8. Ah, she was attacking the b5 pawn. Correct. So Divya goes to b8. Queen f2. Now defending f2. So that if h4, there is even g4. King f8. Divya knows how to wait in such positions. It's one of the skills of a good player. They know when to move, when to wait, how to wear down your opponent, because strong players don't collapse instantly. You have to kind of move around a bit. You have to lull them sometimes. Now h4 is a threat. She plays h4. That gives up another square, that is the g4 square. How important or relevant it is remains to be seen. But king g7 played. And now she's ready to move the rook away. So in a way, the king side tension has been settled. The battle will move to the queen side now. Queen b7 played. Rook to c1. And king to h6. And c4. Well, wow. Salome is like, I can't wait so patiently. I'm going to do something here. I'm not a big fan of this, but I can understand waiting endlessly is tiresome. And doing something always feels good. It feels like progress. But here it does feel that actually it helps black's cause, because now with this you get rook b8 to put pressure here. Also the d4 pawn gets a bit weak. Well, Salome on her end can argue that now she also has some weaknesses like f7 and a5 to attack. She goes queen c2. Objectively, the position still remains kind of fine for white. I mean, black is better, but white is still fighting. But rook g4 now. And keep an eye on the clock as well. Clock situation very important. Salome down to 15 minutes. Divya has 24 minutes. Rook a4 played. Attacking the a5 pawn. And now queen to b5. So your plan now is to maybe get the rook in. Somehow you need both the rooks to enter. The queen is nicely positioned, looking here, looking here. Plays rook c4, queen d5, quickly played. Rook a4. Let's see what Divya does next. It's very interesting, this position. Maybe she has some ideas of queen d6 so that she can sack on f4 or g3. Goes queen d8. What's the point of queen d8? Maybe she wants to sack, takes, queen h4, rook h3, queen f4, some kind of a threat, and Salome stops it with queen f2. Do you think somewhere Divya has in mind f6 and e5 break? It feels a bit too weakening, but no, she goes queen d7. Oh, what if I take on a5, then queen d4? That helps me as black, because then I have like some entry points. So maybe b3 is the move to defend the rook on a4. Or do you go like queen c2? She goes rook c4. And now queen d5. Patience. Patience is important. Patience is the key when you want to win such games. You have to learn to sit for hours and hours. Queen c2 played. If you are not able to sit there for hours, you will not be able to convert such positions. It's not going to fall in your lap. You will have to keep playing. Rook b8. Now another small threat created. Rook takes pawn, queen takes, and you win the rook. Micro issues. Give your opponent micro issues. b3 played. The rook now on e3 is doing like a Herculean task, yeah. He's stopping the e4 pawn, which is a passer. He's defending g3, also defending b3. Queen c1 played to defend the a3 pawn. Rook comes to g8. Now you see Divya is actually making use of the other rook. Maybe rook b7 and rook b8, doubling down the B line is not a bad idea. Oh, finally the rook moves. Rook C3 and rook D8. Very quickly played by Divya. She's moving quickly. She has 3 minutes. Salome has 4 minutes. No additional time now. It's only 30-second increment per move. Rook A4 played. Rook to B5. I understand what Divya intends now. Rook D5 and this D4 pawn. Queen E3. It took black a lot of time to transfer the rooks from the G line to the queen side, but now it's happening. Queen B6 played. Plays rook C4, rook D5 on the board. Wow. And now Salome goes rook C6, but she's kind of blundered a pawn now here. Finally the error has happened when the time went super low. She was down to 5 seconds. Queen takes D4. Isn't that a free pawn? Divya is like, thank you so much, Salome. This is what I wanted. I don't know if Salome wanted that. Is there something she has in mind? Queen takes queen. Rook takes. The A pawn is still a bit weak. She goes rook C2, trying to stop the rook from coming in. But now, do we go rook D3, attacking this and this? Yeah, she plays it. Rook D3. B3 is under pressure. Rook C3, offering a trade of rooks. A rook trade should be very helpful. Let's say if I just take and play rook D3. Isn't that simply winning? No, she goes rook D1. Well, just was curious. Take, rook D3, rook C5, rook B3. And she didn't want to go into this position, Divya. So she went rook D1. Opponent has played the move king G2. Rook B1. She's keeping the 2 rooks. Because with those 2 rooks, she's also able to create some mating net. Rook E2 played. Maybe the final inaccuracy here, because now rook D3 seems to win the B3 pawn. Yes, rook D3 on the board. Divya finds it. It's amazing how Divya has managed to make inroads here. Takes, pawn takes, the rook is attacked, the B3 pawn is falling. She goes rook D2. And rook takes B3, plays A4, Divya pushes her pawn to F6. And the plan is pretty clear. E5, E4, king F3, E5 played. Moving super quick now. This is all but over. It seems like Divya is going to score her 3rd win in 4 rounds. She's playing very aggressively in this tournament, trying to score as many wins as she can. King E3. It's time to push E4, defending the D3 pawn. Rook D1. And rook to B2. Well, the idea is to give a check and then later push the pawns down the board. Rook C1. Check on E2. King f4. d2. The pawn is queening now. Wow. Rook c6 check. The king comes to g7. And the rook tries to stop the pawn from behind, but the other pawn comes to the rescue, and now rook e1 followed by d1 queen is the idea. She goes king e5, hoping for some final tricks. Rook e1. Divya is like, I don't see any tricks. What's your plan? Check. King f8, and if king f6 to threaten mate here, I can already queen, so it's winning. Rook check. Now king e7, and it's over, guys. The pawn is queening. Divya is winning. Salome stops the clock. Divya wins. What a game this was. A battle and a test of patience here for both the players. Divya Deshmukh scores her third win. She is really playing well in this tournament. In spite of her loss to Humpy, she's managed to make a strong comeback with this win against Salome. And she is definitely the player to watch out for here. She and Zhu Jinner are going great guns along with Humpy in this tournament. It's going to be very exciting with 5 more rounds to go here. But for now, this is Sagar Shah signing off from the Women's Grand Prix taking place in India in Pune.